What does good games journalism look like to you?
Something more like the video game magazines I read as a kid. Like, they play the game, they give an honest review. If they happen to be friends with someone who made the game, they go, hey, maybe I shouldn't write about it because my friend is a, voice actor in the game, or they did the pixel art or whatever. Let someone else review it because I'll be biased. Um, I think a good chunk of the gaming websites that kind of popped up after GamerGate started, like Game Nosh and whatnot. Yeah, I think they still do pretty good work. Niche Gamer, sites like that. But I think just like I don't think the whole ethics and journalism thing. All these years later, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it's just a gaming thing. I think it's just in general. To bring up something outside of GamerGate that's a bit more recent, the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. I was noticing, like, even after Johnny Depp won, there were so many news sites that were painting a much more dishonest picture of some of the stuff that happened. And people started noticing that. And they're like, why is this news site lying to us? And I'm just sitting there like, you're just not realizing that? Really? It took this for you to realize that?
Have you?
Yeah, I think it's just journalism in general has become very dishonest. Not just gaming, not just political, just in general.
Has it always been this way, and you're just noticing it, or is it getting worse?
Mm, I think it might be getting worse. Um, no, I do want to say that not all journalists are like this. I actually have someone I see as one of my best friends is in school for journalism right now, so I've been learning a bit about things from him. But you have a lot of sites that were once reputable, like CNN or whatever, latching on to let's be blunt here, Trump. It's like the guy could sneeze in a way they don't like, and they have a whole article about him. But then you have sites like Fox News who are also trying to, I feel, in my opinion at least, promote this sense of back to the us versus them thing. Instead of just talking about the news and what's going on, they have to put their own spin on it. And I have seen news sites from both sides, from all sides politically, just do some serious mental gymnastics to make something look worse than it is. And it's it's causing a lot of division. So that's why I think that it's getting worse.
I know we've talked a little bit about like journalism as a whole, but when it comes to these gaming sites in particular, why wouldn't they just say, "Hey, look, we made a couple mistakes. We're gonna slap a couple people on the wrist. We're gonna implement some basic reforms here to make things better, and then like you guys can go fuck off because we've why not just respond by like just implementing some basic reforms or like just saying, hey, look, we made mistakes, right? Why go the gamers are dead route?
Because something about humanity in general, and this has been a thing long before long before the internet, people don't like admitting when they're wrong. And when you're online, especially when you're on a site like Kotaku, you have a lot of people, you have a lot of eyes on you. So you're afraid of what could happen if you admit that you were wrong about something. So instead of doing that and potentially looking bad in the eyes of your viewership, you double down. Because in that moment, all you can think is, all of these people are watching me. They could be judging me. I can't admit that I fucked up.
Yeah,
So,
that's all too common, unfortunately. Not just in journalism, but like all areas of life. People are just
hmm
afraid. Were there any reforms that you would? Oh, I lost your video.
I turned my camera off. No, I
Okay,
turned my
yeah, that's
camera
fine.
off.
Okay, I'll go ahead and turn on non-video participants if I can. Okay. What kind of reforms would you like to see happen?
More honesty. If you write a review or if you talk about a game in a positive light, at the very least, a simple, hey, by the way, I'm friends with someone that worked on this. If you're going to be biased, at least let us know you're being biased. So we can, take that information and react to it accordingly. I think that's just the main thing is honesty. And also, don't go demonize a whole group of people just because a couple of them are assholes.
So if you were the editor-in-chief of one of these websites, you've got a couple employees who were accused of ethical violations, ethical misconduct. You seem, you look into it a little bit. It seems like okay, maybe they actually did fuck up here. What do you do?
You, well, what I would do, first off, I would take down the articles. I would post an editorial like, hey, just so you know, this happened. This was not acceptable behavior. They are being dealt with. And hopefully we could do better in the future. I'd be honest, like, hey, you know what? We fucked up. And I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but we're only human. And that's the thing. If these journalists had admitted that they fucked up, I don't think I would be as irritated with them as I was. But instead, they doubled down, and the whole gamers are dead thing happened. When all of this could have been avoided if they had just gone, you know what? We messed up. We're sorry. We'll do what we can to correct the issue. So much of this could have been avoided.
Now, obviously, a lot of games journalism has been supplanted to some degree by video and streaming and things like this. But do you think that
Hmm
there's still a role for good games journalism in text-based form?
I think so. I mean, sometimes you just want to read. Well, though that's me. Not everyone likes to read, but sometimes I'm just like, I've heard about this game on YouTube and I'm kind of curious about it, so I'll look it up. I'll read some articles about it. So, yeah, I think there's still a place for it. If for no other reason than insomnia driven research. I think there will always be a place for it.
Now, unlike me, you were actually involved in GamerGate in 2014. So, do you remember
Hmm
the GameJournoPros list?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. The whole list that came out.
Were you
Oh man.
Did you have any thoughts on this? Were you surprised that they were sort of talking to each other behind the scenes across websites, competing websites?
Kind of, kind of. Um, uh, I think I was more surprised that there's just this whole idea of refusing to call each other out on their shitty behavior. Yeah, these people who were supposedly friends. Because if my friends are messing up, I'm gonna tell them. I'd be like, hey, yeah, nah, that was not a good thing. But in some cases, I got the impression that they didn't fully agree, but they just kind of went along with it.
It's easier to go with the flow than risk being ostracized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, especially since I guess at that point there was this idea that you shouldn't give the gamer gators an inch.
And yet they continuously did so. That was the funny thing.